Well, hiya, buddies. Welcome to Barn Burner. It's Boomer here in, it's not the Tower Chrysler Studios. It is the Tower Chrysler Studios. It's always the Tower Chrysler Studios. But from the home studios today, as we are on summer break, we're on summer vacation. We're at the monkey bars in the jungle gym and riding our bikes. It's summertime, eating Mr. Freezies and stuff like that. Regular Barn Burner show is going to be popping up here and there whenever there's breaking news, Flames do something, NHL stuff. We're going to jump in, and if we just need to, bullshit with you and tell you how we're doing, we're going to do that for you. But this one here today is part 3 of our sit down with Robyn Regehr, and I have to admit, you're probably thinking when we were rolling these out, 3 parts with Robyn Regehr. Rob Regehr is a unique guy. If you didn't listen to part 1 and part 2, go back and grab it. This is a cool story. Everyone's got one, but no one has this story other than Robyn Regehr. No one, I'm willing to bet, no one has traveled the path to the NHL and through life and career and all that he has. So happy to bring you part 3 today. We heard about the tragic accident that he was involved in when he was 19 in part 2. Now it's hockey. The big man moves from Calgary to Buffalo. He got some sage advice. I don't know who could have given him that type of advice, that Buffalo was going to be a great place. But yeah, he becomes a Sabre. The years start to take their toll on the big rig's chassis. Everything takes a little bit longer. It's a little harder to get the big man going. And a call from an old friend changes his life forever. That's all coming up here in part 3. And be listening. How much money could you say no to? Robyn said no to a lot. It's coming up. Let's get into it. Part 3 with Robyn. Barn Burner comes to you from the Tower Chrysler Studios. Tower Chrysler, voted Calgary Sun's Reader's Choice Award winner for Southern Alberta's favorite Dodge Chrysler dealer. We've been very lucky and proud to have had Tower as a Barn Burner partner since day number 1 as our studio sponsor and vehicle supplier. How great did the Nation Truck and Nation Jeep look? Tower Chrysler, 10901 McLeod Trail South at the corner of McLeod and Southport Road.
We know how it goes, and then in 04, and then there's a lockout, and then you guys come back, and it felt like you were just going to kind of pick right up where you left off, but it was a different team for sure.
Yeah.
Different.
Well, and a year, like a year of nothing.
Well, no, we got to go to Europe. That was fun.
Oh, survival
Devices.
Like, yeah, like I think I topped out at 242 in an ice shack in northern Saskatchewan. I think in February at that point. But I think there were a lot of guys that were scared when
Chris Simon phoned me in February when Gretz and I forget who else they were canceled, and they're like, we can't lose a year. You guys got it. And Gretz wasn't even playing, but he was like, I'm gonna get the ship steering correctly here. Cy called me. He's like, we better not be playing. Like, we're going to have to play? He's like, I'm 270.
Oh, there were some guys like...
It would have been bad
like,
news. Yeah. We need a 6-month training camp.
Yeah, we did that meeting in Toronto. I don't know if you were at that one. This PA meeting, and Brian Marchment was massive. Eric Lindros.
Oh.
Eric Lindros, someone made a joke. They're like, oh my God, what did you do? Eat your brother? Like he was massive. Like there were some big,
the Never Hungry League and boys were eating.
Oh, yeah, but that was. But that year, like to lose that entire year for a team that was right there, that hurt us a lot. Like way more than anything else. And then we came back. We had a good regular season the next year, but then I think we lost 7 games to Anaheim. I think it was in the first round, but we had a good team, but we lost a complete year and a year in, it doesn't sound like much to people, but in professional sports, professional hockey, where your typical career is 4.5 years, a year is a lot. Of everyone's aged, your production usually does not go up as you've aged. Like that hurt us a lot.
Well, and how many guys, you don't talk about it, but how many guys were on the cusp? I go back to my first training camp was in 94, 95. And there was a lockout then for a couple months Well, Chris Armstrong was a defenseman playing for the Moose Jaw Warriors who was drafted by Florida, and he had a great training camp. They locked out. He never got another chance. Like he had there was a good likelihood he would have made the NHL that year. So the impacts, we miss a year, we're more established. The trickle down effect of missing that whole year is so big you can't even comprehend all the pieces that got screwed over because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been able to like Gary Bettman after that. That was it was one of the reasons I just can't do it. Yeah.
Do you keep track of how much money he owes you? Like Warner's
No.
gone through 2 lockouts or whatever
No,
it is. Like,
no,
somebody owes me some dough somewhere.
No, it's more I just can't stand the guy. I'm just not a fan.
Well, and you were in
as
those
an owner,
meetings, right?
as an owner, he's done a great job for the ownership and stuff. That type of stuff. Like,
it was personal vendetta tough stuff to me at that point with him and Bob. It was not,
yeah.
It's
I think
not
that,
about the best of you or me or the game.
Yeah, that relationship was pretty toxic at that point for sure.
So your time in Calgary, fans they'll remember it was just it almost feels like it was literally dark being at the rink then, because the Iginla stuff was happening and Bouwmeester and the team wasn't winning and Feaster.
Can I jump in? I know you're going to.
Yeah.
I was kind of out at that point. We had a couple of years, and Keenan came in, and the Keenan years to me were
awful
disaster.
Yeah,
like it was just you didn't know what the F was going on. It was, are we actually going to? It was just I look back on it in confusion because there was no direction for the team.
It was a waste.
It was a waste of
absolute waste. Yeah.
Anyway, then I've been kind of walked to the door, and that's fine. But to those years that you talk about, because the team on paper, you had Dion, yourself, Jay Bouwmeester, I forget who all the other D were, but on paper, the squad should have been all right.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't ever translate into success. Do you have an answer as to why you think that might be? And can you compare that to why the team in 03, 04 did have success, or your team in LA that had success? Like, what are the missing ingredients in that era, or what does make a team click?
Yeah, well, with Keenan, there was no structure really, like because he really didn't understand the X's and O's with hockey.
Zero.
Like he was,
it's a waste.
You'd ask him an X's and O's question. And well, you guys are good players. Just go sort it out. Like, so I think that was a problem. I think age, like the age of the team, like we kind of discussed it, is you miss a year, then you have Jim Playfair come in for one, I think, and then another couple. But you're already
3 or 4 years, 5 years removed
down from that, and I guess that kind of led me to the realization that we have aging assets, aging players, and we're not getting any, like we're actually getting less productive as a team and as players. So that was when I came to the realization that it actually wouldn't be a bad thing to just look outside of that. And kind of led me to the meeting with Feaster after the season when he met with we didn't make the playoffs, and he met with all the guys with no trade clauses, no movements, all that kind of stuff. And Daryl had put a bunch of guys on the team with those clauses, and Feaster's, after he shook me down for about 2.5 hours on all my thoughts on the whole organization, from coaches, players, trainers, like you name it, he asked it. So after I was done answering all the questions, I just looked at him and said, okay, Jay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with this team to improve it? So we can actually making the playoffs again and have some success. And that's when he told me what he was going to try to do. And it was try to move a couple players with no trade clauses. And I was like, well, what if you can't do that? And he's like, well, then we're kind of stuck. And that was my realization that, and at the end of that conversation, I just said to Jay, if there's a situation where, potentially I can go to a team that is going to win and have that ability, I said, I would be open to that. I did not demand a trade or anything like that. Just saying, like, I kind of see where things are going.
He was looking for flexibility,
and I
right?
I'm not a huge fan of it. So the disappointing thing was I had a no movement clause. And so we ended up back at the lake, and he didn't phone me till it was a couple days before the draft. And he phoned me at the lake and said, well, we'd like to trade you to Buffalo. And so what happened was I phoned my agent right away, and my agent was mad because when you have a no trade or no movement,
they should be included.
Usually exactly. They talk to the player, talk to the agent. Where are some of the places where you'd like to go, and let's work through this together.
A dialogue of some
sort.
There
was none of that.
Yeah.
So it actually started a really interesting kind of chain of events because my agent at the time, he's like, no, just don't do anything. Leave it with me. So then he phoned, I think Darren Dreger at TSN, and he leaked the story. So he leaked it that Calgary wanted to trade me to Buffalo. And I didn't realize what he was doing at the time, but really he was opening the floodgates because he knew there were other teams interested.
That would be interesting.
But other teams didn't know
there was
in play. So then Buffalo phoned me, and they were mad because they're like, well, why aren't you coming here? Why aren't you waving? And I was like, well, I'm not saying no. I'm just trying to explore options.
I've got this in my contract. This is my right.
Exactly. Like I gave up substantial amount of money to secure the no movement. Like I'm going to use it to my ability. And Jay has kind of put me in a bad spot here. Just talking. And then that started, talking to Rhett and Jordan Leopold and players that had been in and around Buffalo, the Pagulas flying up with Lindy and chatting with them and all that. So, eventually I decided to waive and go there anyway to start a new adventure. And I'm actually really glad I did because not just that I could kind of have a sense of what was going on here in Calgary, but I think there was a little bit of getting stale here in Calgary too, like going. And I realized that when I got to Buffalo is that, you're in you're new country, even though it's just you're just
a different place,
but it's new country, new conference, which was
travel
massive. Like that was a massive difference. I didn't know a lot of the players. Like you only played against them once, maybe twice. And I didn't know a lot of them. Like, and I did a lot of studying tendencies and things like that. So that was like, I had to go back to school, new coach, and played with a very different kind of, I would say, a lot less structure. Just come back, flood the D zone, get the puck back as fast as you can, and 4 guys up the other way. And that's it. Like just back and forth, back and forth. Lindy Ruff.
Gotcha.
And so like I struggled like with that. I did not like that at all. But by going there and doing all this and going through a trade, like, there was some funny stuff, like buying a house in Buffalo. Like you have to have a US based bank account to actually buy a house in the state of New York at the time. I was like, well, I have US currency here, but no, they're like, you have to open up an account in the US. Okay, well, that can't be that hard. Well, because of the Patriot Act and stuff like that, I had to chop down a small forest in paperwork, like just to open up an account. And I didn't realize all that, like the visas and stuff, that was pretty easy. But there was lots of issues that you're starting to realize cross-border that come up. And we're lucky. This is in the off season when I actually had time to deal with it. And Christine and I can talk about it and all that kind of stuff. But so we quickly fly to Buffalo. We've got a young one, and Shane is on he's coming, like he's due like in a month, just a little less than a month. So we only had a certain amount of time to fly. So we fly to Buffalo, look at houses quickly, and we can't find one that we like, but we kind of find this area that one, and more near downtown by Chapin Parkway there by the Hutches, right? The restaurant. So we get home and we start getting our realtor to send us pictures and video of these houses as she goes around that
Maureen. Flavor?
No. Yeah, this was Sarah Robitaille.
Anyway.
So we find a house that we like, and it's this 100-year-old home, beautiful old brick home, and that. And what happens is Christina's water breaks, and we're at the lake, and so I drive her into Prince Albert. We're at the Vic hospital in PA, and I get a phone call, and it's Sarah Robitaille, the realtor from Buffalo. There's stuff going on with this house. You guys need to put an offer in today or else it's gone. And we're like, well, we're a little busy. Christina's in contractions here. Yeah. Like, she's like, no, like, you have to do this. And are you serious? Like, so the offer then is faxed to our friends, the Barodas in Prince Albert. They drive it over to the hospital, and in between contractions, we're signing an offer to buy a house in Buffalo we have not physically been in, or like we've only seen a few pictures of it. Like, that's the kind of stuff that went on. And like the nurses in Prince Albert, they're like, we've seen a lot of stuff,
this is a weird
but
one.
we have not seen this. Yeah. We've not seen this one before.
Babe,
like,
if you could just sign, just initials. Can you just get your initials?
Yeah.
Village Honda is a proud supporter of Barn Burner. You can find them in the Northwest Auto Mall or check them out online at villagehonda.com. Village Honda's got new Hondas arriving daily. Drive away in your new Honda from Village Honda, your dealership for life in the Northwest Auto Mall and at villagehonda.com.
The Hearing Loss Clinic has been helping change people's lives for the better since 1993. At the Hearing Loss Clinic, it's never been about hearing impairment. It's been about empowering you to be socially active, more connected with those around you, and confident in every aspect of your life. People of any age can suffer from hearing loss, and studies have shown that serious health risks have been linked to untreated hearing loss. They have 9 locations to serve you, 4 in the city of Calgary. Make a healthy choice and book an evaluation today at hearingloss.ca.
Because you said about winning, you knew you had to know you weren't going to win in Buffalo.
No, they had a good squad.
No, they were trying to load up, but the problem is they loaded up with the wrong group, right? Like they loaded up with Christian Ehrhoff and Ville Leno and
so
some of the guys like
Pagula.
When they just started
they were
spending
just
money, because they had had a good run post lockout.
Yeah.
That season that we missed because they had Drury and Briere. They'd won the conference. They lost in the semifinals when they puck went over the line.
Miller and Net. And we actually had a really good start to the season. We fell flat after that, and so be it, right? Like it sometimes it doesn't all work out, but I really enjoyed, like, it was challenging. All that stuff was challenging, but it was really nice to just have
change
a different scenery, different teammates and that, and really, like, by going out east, it allowed us to come back west, because that was ultimately the Flames did not want to. That's what it came down to. The Flames didn't want to deal within the Western Conference, and there was no other team that would take Alish Kodalik's contract, because Buffalo took Kodalik's contract
before.
Yeah, exactly. But by doing that, by going out east, I had a chance to come back west to LA eventually.
And how did that come about?
So that would
how
have
many
been,
years in Buffalo?
So a year and a half. So played the full season, the first full season, and then the next year was the half lockout, or partial lockout. We get back playing. Things aren't going great, and I get a phone call. Would you waive your no movement to go to LA? And there were rumblings of it, and at that point, like, LA had won in 12, so that was 13. And I'm like, like, I'm at the tail end of my career now. All I want is a chance. Like, I don't think you can truly pick the team.
No.
If you do, you're lucky, but I just want a chance. And I felt like, and Christine and I talked about it, we felt like we had a chance there. Daryl was there. They had a good team. So went there. We lost in the Western Conference Finals to Chicago that year. They won. And then the next year, we won. So it was, like, it's kind of, you look back on it and you're like, well, did things work out the way we wanted in Buffalo? No, but in a roundabout way, like maybe there's good. It's a good
you
thing.
ended up there, and it all works out. That hockey that the Kings and the Hawks played in the playoffs. So you lost to the Hawks in the semifinal,
in the Western Conference Final.
Western Conference
13,
Final the year before, and then the next year
Yeah.
you beat them in Game 7 in Chicago. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Had to come back to win that game.
Yeah, that was
Hockey was unbelievable.
That was an amazing series. So I was by that point. Series, like it was obviously Chicago was in the middle of their really, really strong teams, and LA was pushing. But our team in LA, we had gone down 3-0 to San Jose.
That's
right. Like, so if you look back on it, we'd played very poorly leading up to the end of the regular season because we couldn't move anymore. We knew we were getting San Jose. And I think it was like the last 8 or 9 games, we lost like 5 of them, or like we didn't play very good at all. And then we thought, well, we'll just flip the switch. Right. And no, we got absolutely pumped for the first 2 games in San Jose.
In the third game? Something?
I think overtime, there was a fight. I think I fought in that game. Did I fight? We lost in overtime. But our attitude, like Daryl was honest about attitudes, like change our attitude and get better attitude. So we played way better in the game 3, and then game 4 we won, and then started rolling after that. And with San Jose, you just had to give them some doubt, like because they'd been so close for so long, which we did. And then we went on to win game 7 on the road. I don't think the score was even that close. We just kind of eventually took over the game. But the interesting thing is back to then round 2. So we won game 7 on the road after being down 3-0. The second round, we won game 7 on the road in Anaheim. And then round 3, back to the series you were saying, Chicago, won game 7 on the road, Alec Martinez. In game 7, overtime, like unbelievable. And then he scored the winner in overtime against the Rangers in game 5 in LA. Yeah. So just a wild ride there for kind of, personally for that last kind of 3 or 4 years of, multiple trades, some different cities and different teammates, but a lot of fun and, getting to the final goal.
I talked to you about it. When did you know it was time to walk away?
Oh, so very interesting interaction with Dean Lombardi. So I'm in LA. We're making our first kind of playoff push in 13 before the Chicago series, and things were I'd kind of settled in. He was happy with things the way they were, and I had a borrowed car. I knew a lady down there. I think you've met her, Kathy Blackburn. She borrowed me her little. She had a little Porsche Carrera down there. Well, I was waiting for the F-350 to come over from Buffalo.
So wedging you into a
Porsche. Yeah. So I hop in the car after practice one day, and there's a little yellow sticky note on the windshield, and it says 333 come see me, Dean. So I'm like, okay. So I get out with the sticky note. I go up to Dean Lombardi's office, and he says, "Come in." And he's like, "Well, what do you think?" I'm like, "What do you think? What do I think about what?" Like, "Well, the contract offer. 3 years, $3 million per year. Like, do you like it?" That was his offer, like on a yellow sticky note on the windshield. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Like I loved him, but he had some quirks. Right? Yeah. So what I first said is this. I said, Dean, I enjoy being here. We've got a great team. I like the guys. But I actually said this to him. I said, I feel personally, physically, mentally, that I can play at a level where I think I can be productive and way I want for 2 years. I said, the way I'm feeling. After that, I said, I don't know. I really don't know. And he looked back at me and he says, you're the first player that's ever lopped off a year of
$3 million.
a contract offer. But at that point, all I cared about was just being a part of a team. And really physically, I was starting to break down. Like my knees are always a weak link, and mentally too, like it takes a toll. And I truly felt like 2 years I could play hard for 2 years. And after that, like, I don't know. And I'm not gonna,
I don't
like,
want to be held to it. I don't
no,
want anyone
like,
pissed off.
yeah,
I
I didn't have to, like, and that way. So we just had a very honest conversation about it all. You know, I never, like, at that point, like, I was never like, well, I'm going to get as much money as I possibly can. Like that really wasn't a motivation at that point at all. It was winning, like getting a chance to win. And I felt like we had that there. And that to me was the most important part of it. And, you know, Christina was mad because she loved LA. She loved LA and wanted to be there as long as possible. But like, I already had other stuff going on too. Like I'd started an oil field service company with people and things like that. And mentally, like my knees were, like, by the end, my knees were really, really bad. And if you look back on it, I probably played a year too long. Like that last year, I was getting all kinds of injections and things like that. I could only turn one way. Like I probably made a mistake by a year, but at least we had that frank conversation about it.
McLeod Law is proud of their Calgary roots. It's a big part of their long-standing client relationships. They understand the city, people in it, and the way things work in Calgary. Like the communities they serve, the McLeod Law team, varied, diverse, and share a commitment to making a positive impact in Calgary. Whether your challenge is business or personal, they're in it with you, professionals with a common goal, helping clients meet their goals. McLeod Law.
Bon-Ton Meat Market. You've heard us talk about Bon-Ton for years, and if you know, you know. And if you don't, then what's taking so long? Bon-Ton Meat Market has been serving Calgary for over 100 years and is better than ever. When you walk through the door, you can take comfort in knowing that the product is the very best. Quality and the customer is number one to Greg Keller and his staff at Bon-Ton. Once again, voted Calgary Consumer Choice Award winner for the best deli meat market. Summer is here. It's time for Bon-Ton. Bon-Ton Meat Market, 28 Crowfoot Circle, Northwest.
Did you make $4.5 million did you make your $9 million over the 2 years, or did you just say, I'm good, $3 million?
I said, I'm good with 2 years.
If you hadn't won, would that have been motivating to keep you going? Because it's like, for me, I lost 3 times, and I'm like, I should have kept trying.
No, Rhett. At that point, I didn't think about that at all. Like, it was a nice bonus, part of a winning team at the end, or a really nice bonus. But, physically, like my one knee. So I was in one appointment with this doctor who'd done thousands of PRP injections, and I was in there, and it was bothering me. It was hurting and I said, how is it? Like, what does it look like? How is it? All that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, I can tell how bad something is by how much fluid it takes. Because if it's really porous and it takes a lot of fluids, he's like, it's close to being done, or it's in rough shape. And he's like, yours took a lot of fluid. Like, when a doctor's there telling you that's done thousands and thousands of these, like, it's bad. It made me realize I thought it was, I felt it was, but him saying that, I'm like, okay, it is. And what do I want to risk now that's going to limit me after playing hockey? Mid-30s, still lots of life to live after hockey and do things. I love being active. Yeah. I'm super active. I love being active. And I felt that to put all that at even more risk
wasn't
for a dollar amount, a substantial dollar amount, but wasn't worth the reward to me. I would rather be able to do things with friends, family, kids, things like that, than be sitting at home in a chair and your knees
Counting your money.
knees mangled. Yeah.
Of all the guys that we've talked to or that I've talked to over the years, you stand out as the guy who was most at peace as his career was over. I've never spoken with anybody. You were clearly, you had an idea of when you were going to be done. You didn't want to go past that due date, and you were good with it.
Yeah, like I think for a variety of reasons, like when your body's telling you should listen, but mentally too. Like mentally, you sit in a kind of
struggle.
mid 30s. Like I never had a problem sitting and listening in a meeting until like those last couple years, and some of those meetings they drag on and this and that, and I'm finding my mind started wandering, and I'm having a harder time being engaged in these meetings. Like it's the same penalty kill meeting that you've had thousands of times. And so you start thinking about things like that and having conversations with other players and retired players and mentors and agents and, you name it. And they bring up the point, like you're being tired of being told what to do, how to dress, where to be, all that kind of structure. It kind of had run its course. And I think having other interests outside of hockey, I think is very important. I think that's one thing that's a real struggle for today's players is they're single tracked from a very young age. Some want to, some their parents do it, and they become hyper focused on just playing hockey. Little Johnny, just worry about hockey. We'll deal with managing everything else around you, but you just focus on hockey. Okay, great. Little Johnny becomes a great hockey player, but he sucks at life. He's got no other skills, social, interest-wise, anything like that. And then what? Like after you're done playing hockey, there's lots of life left to live. Yeah. And you're a very one-dimensional person. And I think that had a lot to do with kind of people around me and, again, family, friends, stuff like that. Have other interests. Don't just be a hockey player. Have hockey as something that you do, but don't have it kind of singularly define you as a person. And I truly felt that way. Like it was actually beneficial to have other interests because it actually helped me focus on something else and come back to hockey.
That I know you did was have plans for after. And there's lots of talk amongst players. Oh, I'm going to plan and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. But most of the guys think they have a plan and they don't really have a plan. All of a sudden they're done. And that plan that they had isn't really what they want to do or a good plan. Robyn had a plan and he's executed on it and he's had interest in it. Talk about that. Like you set up a business here in Calgary prior to being done hockey. I don't know if you had a grand plan for it to turn into something that you were always going to do or if it just walked its way into that, but you had things moving forward for post-career hockey.
Yeah, like having conversations with people about, what are you going to do after hockey? Well, you're still playing. It's like, oh yeah, like there's lots of life left to live after hockey. So that got me thinking. And the other thing too is with Christina, she was always really good at organizing, and you did that too with Chrissy and stuff, organizing different social things, whether it was birthday parties, team parties, whatever it was. But birthday parties for our kids, for example, wherever we were, Buffalo, LA, we invited not just the hockey circle, but other circles, like circles of friends from outside of hockey that kids had or we had. And we were always very open to other circles. And it was interesting because a lot of times the people would show up, and the players specifically, and they wouldn't mingle with other, they just, yeah. And it was really interesting to see. But
small town?
No, it's a selfish thing, and it's not a knock on the players, but you become selfish because part of you has to be selfish to be successful. You have to have a level of selfishness and arrogance about yourself, and I'm not saying those in negative terms at all. To do the things that you need to do to put yourself in a position to be successful.
I agree. I agree with that point, and but for us at that stage, we we also were open to just
People.
being, different people, different things, and living in different cities. And so it kind of forces you to open up a little bit. So that's kind of how it started. And it's actually a little easier to do that, I found, when you're away, like, because we'd kind of been so entrenched here in Calgary, but it kind of forces you to do that when you move to a different city, different country. That way, like, I remember Christina, she said, like, she was at one of the coffee shops in Buffalo, and she just saw a mom's group like that. And we had the Shane was brand new, and Wyatt was like 3, but she just walked up like, "Hey, I'm new here." And and they're like, "Yeah, great." Like, they had nothing to do with hockey. Like, but that's kind of some of the ways that we thought about it. And I think that really helped too, because you have different circles other than hockey, because the hockey one ends. And I don't know what Rhett would say about this, but I found, like, after every team, there's maybe like 2 or 3 guys out of 20-ish players that you kind of really stay in touch with. Like, you'll still reach out every now and again.
Yes,
like, but
you're always teammates and friends, but
there's not really that many that you have like a real close, long-standing relationship with. And so, like, it's important to have other relationships outside of that, other interests outside of that too. And for me, like, it kind of came to me with friends. They're like, "What do you want to do after hockey? Where you want to live?" And Calgary seemed to be the kind of the choice. And, we started Blue Line organically and kind of continued to grow it. And I take 2 days out of the summer and do rig tours in Northern Alberta, like 2 days off of training, and go learn a little bit about the oil patch and what was going on and stuff. And I enjoyed it. Like, I didn't enjoy the fact that most of the time, if I went into a doghouse up in Northern Alberta, it was Edmonton Oilers. Like, I still remember one rig, I walked in there and there's a big Ryan Smith jersey just right now. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, if everyone on the rig would have had mullets, I would have really lost my mind. But it was just really interesting to learn about something different and new, and something I enjoyed.
We would kind of joke about it, but it'd be like, "How's Regehr doing?" "Oh, he's good. He's driving some skid steer up in Fort McMurray, happier than a pig and shit." I mean, his life's great. But I mean, blessed in a way, because it's it's tough for guys, because that hockey machine, it just keeps going. And I don't know that it's a conscious thing, but I think for ex-players, you get left behind very quickly. Almost, not that you're forgotten about, but it's got to keep going. Now it's which is the next player. If you can't play, they're not going a man short. They're putting somebody in that spot, and that can be hard. Yeah,
just interchangeable pieces really is what it is. But yeah, I enjoyed the change. Like, there's actually some things like direct correlation to hockey, right? Like, you're building a business. You want to put together a good, high performing team. Like, everyone's got different roles, responsibilities, same as a hockey team. Like, a lot of that has direct correlation. Some very different. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, in hockey, it's very, it's almost instant gratification or goat horns. Like, right? You win a game, you lose a game. You win a game, you lose a game.
There's always a score being kept.
Yeah. At the end of the season, did we make the playoffs? Great. Yay. We did. Like, or no. Oh, what are we going to, like, it's very instant gratification or not. And with business, small business, it's like months or years sometimes. Like, yes, you will have small little wins and losses along the way, but okay, what's our strategy? Okay, this is the strategy. Who are we going to put in place to do that? Okay, now we're going to implement it. And then it doesn't just happen the next day. Like, it takes months or years.
Yeah, you go a year and then you question your strategy probably.
And then review it. Yeah. And so, like, it's just a very different, like, there's some correlation with the team, but there's also others that it's just like, I got to learn to be a little bit more patient with what's going on.
The word is out. Madrow's Pub in Royal Oak has become one of Calgary's best pubs, and it's no secret why. 20 beers on tap, kid-friendly Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, daily specials, lunch specials, some of the best food you're going to find in the city. period. Burgers, pastas, steaks, full entrees, and proud to serve one of the best and most talked about pizzas in Calgary. Summer's here. Come enjoy the brand new patio. Check out their website. Maybe order some takeout. madrose.pub is the website. 15 Royal Vista Place is the address. It's Mad Rose Pub.
We probably should wrap this up because
I got
a couple more. Well, I was going to ask too, what you've done this business, Blue Line, it's had success. I'm guessing you said that you're thinking about selling it, getting out of that. If you are, what's the next chapter for Robyn Regehr? You said you had 5 years of excitement, and then 5 years of establishment, and then 5 years wanting to win, and then you got out. Now you did this part. What's the future bringing?
Yeah, so I call it actually transitions. I don't really rarely do I call it retirement. Like I transitioned from hockey into small business with Blue Line. I'll be looking to transition out here, probably in the next couple years. I'm guessing to something else. For me, I think that's focusing more on agriculture. I love agriculture. Grew up working on a farm. Been fortunate to purchase some farmland in Saskatchewan, rent it out to a big group of people. Some of them were the ones I grew up working for.
Yeah.
I love agriculture. Fantastic job of it here in Western Canada, and I'm very proud of it. I don't care what that idiot in Ottawa has to say about it. Like, we do a good job of it, and other things as well, oil and gas and stuff. So I want to be more involved with that. Like, is it a day-to-day piece? No, I probably don't want to be in an operating company of a farm, but as a landowner and having something tangible and enjoying the land, and
you're going to be a hired man. You're going to be driving the tractors and the combines,
or having the choice of to go out there or not. I really like that flexibility. I'm doing a little bit more volunteering, so I'm co-chair of the Flames Alumni Golf Tournament now, and this will be my second year. We've got that coming up May 25th at Pritis, and so trying to do a little bit of that. I've volunteered to be on the executive board and a few things. So I would say I'm focusing on the next transition on doing a little bit more of what I'd like to do and want to do, rather than maybe what I feel like I have to
obligated to do.
Yeah. So what does that look like? I'll tell you this. I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder coming out of hockey. Because I'd had some success in hockey, financial winning, and all that kind of stuff, but it was in hockey, and
now you wanted to prove.
I wanted to prove that I could do it outside of hockey. I felt like I've done that now, and I don't have that chip on my shoulder anymore, and I'm okay with this transition, going into something and not having that built-in plan that you talked about before, of just kind of seeing what's out there. And I know I've talked to people in that retirement kind of space, and they're like, just wait. Like you'll wait and see what comes at you, and you'll get a chance to pick and choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So I think that is more what I'm looking forward to in the next couple of years with the transition. I would say,
and spending that not last time, but those boys that you have at home, that's going fast too.
It is. Yeah, it is really fast. And we're now, because neither of them can drive yet and things, like, we're in it. Like you have to run them around everywhere, and which is great. Like Christine and I both enjoy it. Still having the conversations with them in the car and things like that. Because soon that's going to be done. Like soon, once they do get their licenses and can drive themselves, they're not going to want us around. And quite frankly, I'm not going to want to go to a 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock practice. I just don't want to. So trying to maximize what we have right now, for sure.
Just the last one I had, because I asked, it always stuck out to me. One of the times we had you in studio at the station, you had said the one thing you miss is being able to go out and hit guys. When you have that kind of pent up aggression, you could go and hit guys. And I asked one of your former teammates, I'm like, just tell me, about got Robyn coming in. And he said, he's the most ferocious teammate I've ever played with. That part of is that built in
I saw it 2 minutes ago when he said the chip on his shoulder.
Right? Like it's
I would say I've come to the realization that there's not going to be the same outlets for that. Like that outlet in hockey it's amazing. Like you're doing your job, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're having a chance to, like, if you have a personal vendetta against someone like I did with Edmonton and stuff like that, like to be able to do that, like made me feel warm and fuzzy inside, to try to grab that guy and run him, like physically try to put him through the stanchions of the glass. Like if I could shove him in there as like it, man, did that make me feel good. Like, but I know that I cannot do that now. Or if I do that, I'm in deep trouble. And so do I miss that? Yes, I do. But I realize that I can't do that anymore either. Like there's things that happen in my body that it just doesn't feel good anymore. So is there some outlets that, yes, like, so I love like playing tennis now. Like Marty Jelena has taken up tennis and I'll play tennis. And so I'll go out there and play with them, or Christina plays, or do things with the boys, right? You're out there playing and doing things with them. Am I going to let them win? Like, no, I'm not. Like, you need to beat me. Like, you know, like I'm not going to just
water ski still too.
Water ski. Like, so I love skiing. I actually joined, there's a private club down south here called Predator Bay. So I joined there. I haven't skied yet. I left my ski in Saskatchewan, but I'll go grab it this weekend and I'll ski. I skied a lot last summer. I skied really well, actually the best I ever have. And I won a tournament actually on Emma there. There was a tournament I got invited to, September long weekend. It was fantastic. It was just a blast. Like,
whole different,
and just very different individual sport, right? Like you're out there on your own. And so I like that, but is it the same as putting Hemsky through the glass? No, but at least I'm out there doing something, being competitive, and coming to the realization that that's where it is right now for me. It's not back 10 years ago. This is now. Like, enjoy what you can do now. And I think I'm okay with that.
Is there a reason it was Hemsky? Did he say something? Or?
He cross-checked me in the throat when
Is that what it was?
I
Yeah.
didn't get a penalty, and I just every time I
Hold
just
aggressive
tried to.
much?
Oh yeah,
The
I
rest of
just.
his life.
Oh yeah, just absolutely. I just tried to think about that to get
And just
me
the last
fired up.
thing, same teammate, he said that you lead the league in ripping off guys' shirts at the bar.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
He
Yeah.
doesn't know why. He doesn't understand what the deal was.
I don't
but-
know. Just when you get rammy, certain people have certain things. I guess that was it. And one of the funny things I was in during the lockout, I was in Lowell with visiting my brother who was playing down there. Brendan Evans was down there, and we went out in Boston one night, just got after it, right? And I'd ripped one of his. I think he really enjoyed it. Some old concert T-shirt or something that meant actually, I just had some meaning to him, right? So one of the funniest things though is I woke up the next morning and he had stayed up all like at that night, taken a massive kitchen knife and cut both of my shoes in half. Both of so I got him, or he got me back, right? Get in there, and they just fell open. Like, oh, it was so funny. Like for that, like I love that kind of stuff. I love the little like pranks and things like that I learned from Rhett, and the pranks I pulled on Daryl later on in LA. Like I pulled some good ones on him, and a lot of the players were scared of him. Like, and it's like, well, no, like if he's getting too wound up and stuff, like we need to do something to him so he realizes that. And he did. He'd come in. Oh, you guys want me to chill out? Hey, we're like, yeah, exactly. Like, get the point.
100%.
Yes. So let it sink in.
It's crazy when you think about the team this year. They could have used a.
Oh, well, yeah. Instead of
Robyn
going in and actually doing that and having that interaction, you, unnamed person, talk to your agent and get your agent to say something in the meeting. Like, that's not leadership. Like, go in, have a conversation. Even if you need to yell and scream and hash it out, do it. Like that's part of being in a high pressure situation. You're being paid a lot of money to win and perform. Like you're not always going to be on a team you want to be on. You're not always going to have a coach that loves you or likes you, but you are paid. You are paid to perform.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Like go out and do it. Like, and that was a real disappointment with the team here this year is, you know, the excuses and the indirect. Well, just go in there and hash it out. Like,
don't hash it out. Go perform.
Or go perform.
It won't be an issue.
Simple. Like, yeah.
And that next coach is going to be an interesting spot because you know there's drama in that room when you come in. It's already been established.
Well, it's very interesting because now you have a team that really multiple players quit. They quit on the coach. You could see it. And okay, so now you appease those players as an organization, quitting on the coach, even though they're paid to perform and paid to win. And then you bring in what? Like you bring in, so now you appease them. Do you bring in a soft coach and just let them do whatever you want? I don't think so. You have to bring in a firm but fair coach that is actually going to hold these players accountable to what they signed up for in the first place. To when you put your name on that contract, it's to perform to the top level of your team. It doesn't say in there, well, you have to like the coach or you have to it doesn't. Like, it's pretty simple, but I think a lot of these players on this team are having trouble with that. And that kind of bugs me a little bit as a former
worry
player.
that it's more than just on this team. I feel like it's part of the game a little bit, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
Yeah.
That's amazing amount of time we just rolled out there. But thanks for that. It's you've always been one of my favorite guys, even back to when I was an actual media person. You were a guy in the room with 2 knee braces on and ice bags, and it was amazing the work that you had to put in, clearly, to play at that high level and to walk away and to be as happy as you are. It's you're one of the few guys I think that really is. You should be so proud of how it's all gone for you.
Yeah, well, it takes a team. Like I've talked about it many times here. It takes a big team around, you know, family and support network and friends and stuff. And it truly does. Cause it's not a, you know, we're winning along the way all the time. Like there's challenges in there. There's losses, there's issues, but you just got to keep going. Just keep going.
And see if that house actually gets built. That's the challenge.
That will be.
It's happening.
It's
happening. Yeah.
Thanks, Robyn.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Pinder. Betway bet of the day time. I'm looking to the 2023-2024 NHL season, and you could bet on trophy winners. Hart, it's going to be Connor, no odds there. Vezina, Norris, all that stuff. But here's one where I think I found some value. Connor ran away with the scoring title this year for the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy for most goals. But who wasn't healthy and who would have been the favorite to win that trophy at the beginning of the year? Probably Austin Matthews. He's plus 600. That's 6-1 to win the Rocket Richard Trophy next year. It's a contract year for the American who about to get paid. Let's jump on that one. 6-1 for Austin Matthews to win the Rocket Richard Trophy on your Betway bet of the day.
There you have it. I hope you liked that. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. It was not going to be, we had no real, and I've said this before, we had no, let's sit down so we can get 3 parts, 3 segment things done with Robyn Regehr. We just sat down and started to get into it. And I had a feeling it was going to kind of, because of Rhett and his relationship with Robyn, and just Robyn's a very thoughtful guy. He was one of those guys, working media, when you go into the room, you're looking for something a little bit different. Who's going to tell me a story? Who's going to give me something other than just the generic one day at a time, play our A game type stuff? And Robyn was always one of those guys. And it's kind of big dude, big, tall, hulking defenseman, is kind of soft-spoken just with his speech and that, but he's a very insightful guy. You knew if you were going to his stall, he was going to give you probably some pretty honest stuff, sometimes brutally honest, which is what you love. If you're a fan and if you're in the media, you want to get that honesty. But it was insightful. It was thoughtful. It was real. And he always appreciated that about Robyn. And I think that you got that there. You can see from his upbringing, some of the challenges and all of that, this is not a guy who was motivated by money, clearly, but big, strong, tough, competitive. Yet you can see there's that. It feels like that moral compass has been pointed in the right direction. You could tell just from the upbringing, parents, brothers and sisters, the family, that whole thing, what was important to them and him growing up continues to be, as he's now a parent and a husband and a Calgarian himself. Pretty cool. Hope you like that. We've got more of these coming up. We continue to work our way. I know what you're thinking. Oh, you guys we're working behind the scenes. We're working very hard. Fingers worked to the bone. Trust me. More of these coming up. Already, we can tell you, not one but two visits with Hockey Hall of Famers. That's right. One very recently and welcomed into that prestigious club. So a couple Hall of Famers. Another former Flame coming up who he himself had a unfortunate taste of tragedy that changed his life forever. And if you know what, if you like these, if you have an idea, if you have ideas, thoughts, opinions, you like it, you don't like it, send us an email. boomer@flamesnation.ca. Fire me an email. Tell me what you think. If you're somebody you'd like to see on the show, things that we can do for you, we'd appreciate it. Hope you're having a great summer. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Hope Stampede isn't tearing you right to shreds. So be good. Support the sponsors. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We said we wanted to do this. We were going to scale back and we were going to change things a little bit, and everybody was very on board and understood, and they were all for it. So hopefully they appreciate it, and hopefully you appreciate them. It's how we're able to do what we do. So do support those sponsors. We love them. You love them. We love you. And we know you love us. I mean, who couldn't, really? That's going to do it for today's edition of Barn Burner. Stay tuned. More cool stuff coming up. Have a great one, buddies. See ya.